Welcome back to Balance and Bubbles. I'm Shannon, and Amy and I are so glad that you're here with us for another conversation in our Coming Back to Center series. This month, we're talking about the 4 core parts of who we are: body, mind, heart, and spirit. And today we're going to be settling into the space of the mind. We're not going to be talking about the polished mind or the productive mind, but the very real mind that so many women are carrying around every single day.
And chances are your real mind right now is either listening to this while you are folding laundry, or maybe you're sending a text message, or maybe you're even thinking about emails you haven't answered yet. Well, this episode is definitely for you. Or maybe you're just listening to us in between meetings. That either way, this episode is for women who are technically sitting still, but mentally running a race.
Absolutely. We won't even talk about all the notifications that were
Right,
bouncing across your
right,
screen earlier,
right.
Amy. Absolutely. So this is for the woman whose brain has been on since early morning and never really powers down. The woman who is carrying what needs to happen at home, what needs to happen at work, what needs attention in her relationships, what needs to be remembered in her body, and what still hasn't even been processed emotionally. So many women are walking through life thinking, why am I so tired? Right? Why is my brain so full all the time? And the truth is that this might not be that anything is wrong with you. What if you're just caring far more than anyone else can see?
Maybe I'll give you a great example right now because this part really gets me. We've been trying to do this podcast.
My goodness, yes.
We've been here about 5 hours, and we've already had the bug people come. We've already had the lawnmower come.
Mhm.
So we've had to alter a lot of things we've done this morning. But at any rate, we've gotten through it. You also have gotten through it, whether you've texted somebody back, you've made the email, you've made the appointment, you've texted your kid, you've checked on somebody, an elderly, grandkid, your child. You've maybe even ordered your groceries. Basically, you have handled everything that nobody knows that you have been handling. And we do not get any trophy for being the invisible operations department of everybody's life.
100%. I don't think I've gotten a trophy yet, right? So today's episode is really about that invisible load that we carry: the planning, the anticipation, the remembering, the scanning, the decision making, and the emotional tracking, right? We are taking care of all these things. These are all the things that happen in the background that can really leave a woman feeling completely depleted, even if she never sat down and did one obvious dramatic thing. And for many women, it's important to say this clearly: the mental load is not one list. The mental load, it's a personal list and a professional list running side by side all day long.
Absolutely. And it's not just home life. It's basically 2 dashboards. What's going on in your house, what's happening next in your inbox. It's how your people are and doing and responsibilities. It's family logistics, deadlines, whether you've replied to your child's teacher, whether you're forgetting something tomorrow, whether you're dropping the ball at work or at home. And for a lot of us, it feels like a lot.
It is a lot. It is sometimes so much. And before we get started, because this is Balance and Bubbles, we are of course going to be bringing a drink into the conversation. So today's mocktail is our Blueberry Sage Spritz. We felt that it was perfect for this episode because it is fresh and a little grounding, but is still elevated enough to feel like a reset. It has a little pause in the glass energy, which feels right for this conversation about the mind and what our mind has been carrying far too long.
It really does. And it's thoughtful and calming without being boring. If you look inside here, I don't know if y'all can see, we've got a little slice
Beautiful.
of lemon. And Shannon is teaching me a lot about these little garnishes. What is that? Rosemary?
Sage.
Sage. And then we've got blueberries. And the recipe actually called for about 1/4 of a cup. We thought that was too much until we put them in. And we were like, actually, that's just the right amount. It's beautiful. So obviously, we hope that you will enjoy the Blueberry Sage Spritz. Feel free to pause the recording and make yourself a mocktail. You can always find the recipes at balanceandbubbles.balanceandbubblespodcast.com. Y'all, we're still new at this.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. Balanceandbubblespodcast.com.
But we're real. We're real.
Yeah, we're real.
Absolutely. So let's talk about relief, right? That's such an important word. And I think that women are really tired of being handled productivity advice. You know, when I think about this, Amy, if I had all the money back of every organizing system I have purchased, calendars, right? Whether they're apps or hard calendars or, just do this one thing, get your life in order in the morning, right? That kind of thing. Oh my goodness. So what we really need is someone to look at our lives honestly and say, of course your mind is tired, right?
Right.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Look at everything that you have been carrying all day.
Yeah, whenever I'm watching TV, it's funny because I'll always see these commercials and I'm like, maybe that's what I need, magnesium. Or maybe that's what I need, a lavender oil. And I'm not saying that I don't need those, but I'm kind of always looking for that. What's that one thing that maybe
Yes.
it's just gonna magically
Oh
make
my
my
goodness.
life easier?
And so that's a great point because how often, I think we get into either vegging in front of the TV or, I'm guilty. I'll get on and I'll scroll through reels and things like that. And
Mhm.
I always kind of market it like I'm
Right.
researching stuff. But it's like, you're right. That thing pops up and it's like, we have the answer for you. Just do this thing. Just do
Yes.
that thing. And I think that even that adds to our load, right? So let me ask you a question before we really dive in. How are you? And I want the real honest answer, not the perfected answer.
So, generally speaking, most people who are around me, and I think you can attest to this, would be like, oh, Amy's always peppy, upbeat, positive. But let me just tell you, I am swimming like a duck as fast as I can underwater. Right. So
Mhm.
I got my head up high, but my little feet and Shannon,
Yeah.
they're tired. My little paddles are tired. Like, I mean, can you like, I guarantee you anybody that really knows me is like, that is exactly how it probably is for her
Yeah.
because, I'm like, just, "No, everything's so great." And then my little feet are just down there going
All the time.
all the time.
I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's exactly, I mean, for me too, I usually notice that when I am paddling so hard and I'm
Mhm.
just exhausted, that's when I get a little cranky.
Right.
That's when somebody says something to me, or even someone will send a text and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do I really need to respond to this? It's just like that
Mhm.
simple action of doing that just seems to be like so much.
Do you ever
you know.
sometimes get a text and you'll read it and you'll just honestly say, I can't respond to that right now.
Mm.
Like I'm gonna have to wait 5 minutes to gather myself. And I find that happens to me. Not often,
But
but on the
sometimes.
days that you're just, you're juggling a lot. And it could be
Yeah.
nothing. It could just be a simple text from my daughter, hey, can you watch the kids on Friday?
Yeah.
And that's like 4 days from now.
But
And I'll have to go, can I do that?
yeah. Yeah. But the brain goes, oh my gosh, this is one more thing to handle, right? This is one more decision I have to make. Yeah. Absolutely.
Decisions.
Decisions. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
are professional decision makers.
We are women
Professional decision makers.
all the time. And we don't even think about the decisions that we make.
100%.
I mean, from the moment of, am I going to put my feet on the floor in the morning? That's a decision, right? That's a decision. And then what am I going to wear? What am I going to feed the kids? What breakfast am I going to make? I mean, and we don't even think about those decisions and how they pull energy from our brain.
Absolutely.
We only think about the big ones.
So true.
Yeah, we only really acknowledge those. So where are we going today, Amy?
I'm not sure where we're going, but we're gonna let y'all know that we're going. Okay, so here's where we're going. We're gonna talk about the mental load, the decision fatigue, and why overthinking is not a weakness at all, but it is basically this conversation is gonna be for those of you that you're overthinking. It's not perfection. We're just trying to get through the days. So your mental load is a lot, and we know that, and we live it every day too. So we just want to
Mhm.
have a nice conversation today about what you're carrying.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever gone to bed at night just totally exhausted and you're like, what did I do today?
The last 3 nights.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to bed, gotten out of bed to do something because you were like, if I just do that, maybe it'll make tomorrow easier? Have you ever done that?
No, I don't usually do that.
Okay.
Not for me. That's
All
not,
right.
that's not me. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a list person. So if I don't get something done on a list that I think I had to get done for that day, I have at times gotten up and
You
done
got to
it.
get up and do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I know that's so crazy.
No, it's all of our brains work differently, right? So,
We can pause for a little sip.
okay. Sounds good to me.
We're going to get a little, yeah.
A little hydration because we don't always think about our hydration, right? Okay. So think about how much of the labor that we do that never gets named, right? Because it doesn't always look like labor. We don't consider it as
Right.
labor.
Right.
It looks like thinking
Right.
and it looks like noticing Because don't we notice all the time? We notice how people's moods are. We notice if people need something. We notice, and a lot of times that noticing is external, not internal. We don't bring it internal. It looks like remembering the thing before it becomes a problem.
I was about to say to you, I feel like we're always in a room thinking ahead what could happen and
Hmm.
trying to solve the problem before it even exists.
Yes,
Does that make sense? Like what
100%.
that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, our brain is always geared up for what's coming at us that's going to harm us or is going to cause me pain.
We're very, I think we're very, and by the way, y'all know this is like we are not at all. I actually was talking to my sister about this the other day. I was like, I don't want people to think the podcast is about men or women. It's really more just like it's about women where we are in life right now. It's not like
Yes.
men or women. It's I'm not trying to
No.
be a man basher or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is that I think women are constantly proactive in their minds because we have to,
Yes.
right? Like you're thinking so far ahead that even for us to sometimes be in the moment, which my favorite saying is be where your feet are. But I
Mm.
mean, is that realistic as a can you
It's hard. It's hard, right? It's
it's
hard because
hard.
I think you're right. We are constantly in a forward thinking. Well, we can get in the past too, but that's a whole nother story.
Right,
But
right.
we're constantly in a what do I need to do? What do I need to take care of? Who needs to be taken care of?
Mhm.
All of that. So yeah, and yes, I would emphasize that too. This isn't a podcast that say women are only have struggles and men
Right,
don't,
right.
because we know that men do, but they can be different.
Yes.
Yeah, they can just be different. Yeah.
And I think that most women knows exactly how this feels. If you've never used the phrase mental load, it's carrying the holiday plan in April that you have to get ready for in December. It's remembering there's one person who needs encouragement in the family and one who needs a push and one who needs space. It's knowing when somebody's off. It's knowing when your body feels weird and still figuring out what's for dinner. Now, I will tell y'all, this is a fact, and I'm going to ask you for a fact. I do not cook. I just don't.
Mhm.
Like, I don't cook, and unfortunately, my kids never learned that skill either. So I'll shout out to my children, I'm sorry, but I do think every female has something that they're like, that just kind of was my
Yeah.
life was just too busy
Yeah.
when the kids were growing up and I was by myself and I was like, I mean, I hate to say it, but 50% of the time we probably ate out
Yeah. Well,
or frozen pizza or I mean, oh my gosh, that's embarrassing, right?
what was it used to be? Tuna helper or
I
hamburger? Yes,
know.
when our kids were little. No, I mean, I totally get that. I get that. I like to cook. I don't want to decide what's for dinner.
Yeah, that's another decision.
Yeah, I don't want to decide what's for dinner. And I don't, I love my husband, but when I say, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" and I get, no." I don't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, but it's that load, and I think we're going to talk about that how those continual decisions all day long, we get to the afternoon and we're just like burnout. We're gonna come up on that. So and so we tend to be as women the ones who carry all the remembering. We carry a lot of the remembering, and what makes it even harder is that so many women have been praised for being this person for so long that they don't even realize how much they're holding. Whether it's like following the competency that your grandmother demonstrated or your mom, or just that kind of expectation. We're taught competence as an identity, right? The one who can hold it all together.
And I think so many women were raised to be the reliable one, the one who doesn't drop balls, the one who notices again what needs to be done before anybody has to ask. We feel obligated to be the one that you can count on, which
Mm.
this does sound very admirable until you realize it can turn into the human version of an open browser with 40 tabs open and music playing from one of them and you don't know which one. And I mean, I got a great this is okay. I just learned this word about 3 or 4 years ago. It's called a cacophony.
Hmm.
I was like, a cacophony. And it's where basically you have the radio going and your phone is going and your windshield light. Like you have all these stimulants coming from different places and you have to find a way to shut those down for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, all this noise, right? And
Absolutely.
a cacophony can be beautiful,
100%.
and it can also be very chaotic and disorganized.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that in midlife, especially, that mental load can really intensify. Women can be managing children or adult children or grandchildren. Maybe we have aging parents that we have to take care of, provide for. Maybe our relationships are shifting.
Mhm.
We are at a different place in our life. And so maybe those are changing a little bit. Do you want to?
Or Shannon, maybe your son-in-law comes in while we're recording and gets a diaper so they can go to the pool in the backyard. I I feel like we're gonna keep this in the episode because is that not that's
That's
priceless.
perfect.
That is priceless. Like,
That's
I mean, literally, I'm like, who is at the door? And he just walks in and goes to get a swim diaper. I'm assuming they're just gonna go back and swim. And by the way, when I say I have a swimming pool, don't get any ideas that I have this amazing swimming pool because it's not, but it is a pool and it has water. So we celebrate that.
That's
But
nice.
anyways,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's so funny. Oh
this
my
this
gosh.
just actually made the whole
It
episode.
did.
So
Oh my goodness.
shout out to Jackson Hamilton. That is my son-in-law, and I do adore him. And
He did try it quietly.
he did.
He did.
He
Okay.
did.
All right. So let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we think about, we've carried all of these identities this whole time in our life, raising our kids, growing up, working our career, all of that. And we get a different intensity when we hit midlife, right? Now we're, like I mentioned before, we went off the tracks. All the things that we are managing with our children, grandchildren, maybe we have our aging parents. And we also have this wonderful thing called midlife that has its wonderful benefits. And we also have to deal with some things like hormones, right? Maybe our sleep is being disrupted because of it. Maybe we're even questioning about our own identity and our
100%.
purpose. I do when I coach a lot of women our age, that seems to be like the number one question of kind of trying to figure out who am I now in this next chapter? What's my purpose?
100%.
Yeah.
Who
And
am I in this next
who am I
chapter?
in this next chapter? So it isn't simply that the list is long, it's that the list is layered.
Very layered for sure. And it's never just, do I need to get milk? It's you have to remember everything. We're out of dog food. When does pest control need to come? When do I need to have the vet for my dogs ready? I mean, it's just always constantly thinking ahead, deciding whether you're going to figure it out ahead of time or be reactive. And we have to be reactive enough.
Mm.
But it's nice if you can to just, it all starts to stack up on you
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. And so we really need to say this because a lot of this stuff is personal, but this for many women, that stack is not just personal, it is professional too. Many women work outside the house or they're running their own business, they're working full-time, part-time, caregiving work for their parents. Maybe they're a leader, leading a team, or managing clients. So it's not just the family schedule and the emotional temperature regulation and remembering what's in the fridge. It's deadlines and meetings and people management, problem solving that comes up daily. Like Amy mentioned earlier, when we were trying to get this set up, all of a sudden her phone started blowing up because stuff at her work was happening, so all of this comes in and we always want to be in a place that we are professional and seen as being very competent. But, that's requires staying mentally on all day, even before we get home and we start that second shift at home.
And the one thing you just said is like, if you have a full-time job, I do have a full-time job, it doesn't end. It's not an 8 to 5 job. And I'm not saying that in the fact that what I'm saying is there are still times, like outside of work hours that I'll be contacted and you have to decide, do I take care of that now or not? And if you're a type A personality like me, then chances are you will stop and take care of it. And then some people will say, well, you need to create a boundary, but then there's that, well, create a boundary, but take care of it now and not have to worry about it later. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's a really big thing that a lot of people don't realize is I totally understand boundaries, but sometimes for me, it's easier to handle it and it be off my mind than to create a boundary like, I'll handle that tomorrow. It's still
Right.
going to be there tomorrow.
It's going to be there.
So it
Yeah.
just depends your personality. And I completely,
Mhm.
but I know a lot of people in my life are like, why do you always have to handle it right when it happens? And I just think, you're going to have to handle it at some point. As I've gotten older, I have gotten better at triaging things, right? Like,
Right.
okay, maybe it's not that urgent.
Right.
in my younger days when I was climbing the career ladder, I was like, okay, oh my gosh, I have to handle that right now. So I have gotten better, but
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's just understanding your personality a little bit, right?
Right.
Like, is it going to create more angst for you to have that sitting in your
Right.
brain for the rest of the night, or
Right.
can you take 5, 10 minutes and deal with it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for me, then I can be present.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's and that is what I've learned about myself is finish your tasks, then I can have my feet in the room.
Yeah.
And I know that again.
So I think this is important for women, and going back to that conversation that we had a minute ago about like, this is the next answer, right? Use this organizer and this is going to fix you kind of thing. I think we can often not slow down to figure out, what do I need? What's going to work for me? For you, handling something that you can helps you to stay present.
Absolutely.
For some women, it might be, "Oh my gosh, that's just one more thing I can't deal with this today," and writing it on a calendar, or, you know, finding a time that you'll have capacity to do that.
Mhm.
So I think this is an important thing for us to understand, is like, we're not all the same. We're not all the same. And taking a minute to check in with you of, what do I need? And we're going to give you something before we end the show today that might help with that a little bit,
Mhm.
but I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we take a look. So we've talked about, we've got the professional life, we've got the personal life, putting all of that things. And when we spend the day being competent and responsive, right, and thoughtful and productive, and we come home and there's still dinner to consider. There's still laundry. And maybe if you have kids, there's scheduling, right? What do you have to do for them to help get them supported? Maybe you have to support your significant other emotionally because, they had a hard day at work, or logistics. There's just a million small things that it takes to make a household run. And we do it so well that we just don't see where that energy gets expended.
Very seamless.
Yeah, very seamless. So even though nobody wants to pile it on, right? Nobody wants to. A lot of women are walking around already depleted before their evening shift starts.
Absolutely.
And so this creates a really particular kind of exhaustion, because she may spend the day being capable, composed,
Mhm.
strategic,
Mhm.
you know, we have to be different in the professional world, right? So I think sometimes our home life kind of suffers because of that.
For
That
sure.
that edge might
For
come off
sure.
a little bit. And then we walk into what we have to do at home. And there's very little margin between the roles. I loved it best when I commuted to an office that was away from me. So, I would
Mm.
move around from
Mhm. Mhm.
offices, because
Mhm.
I relished that hour commute, as crazy as that sounds, to just
That
take a
was your
breath.
reset
That
hour.
was my reset
That was your
hour.
reset hour,
Yeah,
even though you were in traffic?
even though I was in, yes, but I dealt with traffic. So yeah, even though I was in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was, having that time, right?
Mhm, mhm. I definitely have had one of those moments recently, and y'all are gonna laugh, but I'm actually gonna check my cell phone because my son-in-law is texting me saying he's sorry, and I'm like, "No worries," and it was actually so perfect, and I'm just laughing so hard because it makes my heart happy that my son-in-law felt like he could just walk in and that he needed a diaper,
Yeah.
and it's actually adorable to me. So, you're always gonna find that we are so real. So, yes, I have plenty of these moments, and then obviously you have a full work day, and then you've got your kids calling to ask you, "Can you possibly watch the grandbabies?" And then you're torn because you have work to do, but you really want to be with them, and there's no pressure from any of the kids, right?
Right.
Like, I know you had a similar day the other day that you were like, "I went from one house to the next," and you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it still does pull on you, and not in a negative way, but then you also had stuff you had to get done, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's those decisions you have to make,
Gotta balance them.
and I'm always gonna choose my family first.
Yeah. You and me both.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's such real examples, Amy. I think every person who's listening can relate to that in some form or fashion, even your son-in-law coming
Ugh.
in.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be a story forever.
100%. But it's important to remember too that it's not always the external pressure, right? It can be that internal pressure. Sometimes it's the emotional load of, we love our people so deeply, and wanting to be available even when the capacity is already spoken for. And sometimes that can create, I know for me, cause, I can feel guilty because I have to
Ugh,
say, no, I can't do
man.
something, or, no, or I'll overextend myself to get help them get their things done. And I'm not saying that that's not important to me, but we have to realize it's an expenditure.
Absolutely. And the guilt is, I don't know about you, but the guilt as a mother is so real. And I think that happens for so many women. We know logically that we're maxed out. We know logically that we really do have to do this at work before we could go help or assist our kids with their kids. But it still feels emotionally like we should be able to
Hmm.
be there for them at every moment. And so, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think sometimes often no one sees like the full picture, right? I think sometimes because much of it's really internal, there's not a pile sitting on your kitchen counter that says everything I'm mentally carrying today. Nobody can see that,
It'd be so
right?
high.
It'd be what?
It'd be so
It'd be
high.
we need 2 piles, right? So,
It'd be
you
so high.
know, people don't see what women are carrying in their heads all the time, and their hearts. I'm gonna include the heart in here too, because I think that that's important. All of the work decisions, the emotional management, everything that we've talked about that's there, it just seems to on the outside that maybe we look like we're distracted or we're tired or maybe a little irritable. I know my son asked me the other day, he was talking to me and he said, what's wrong, mom? And I'm like, nothing's wrong. I'm just tired. I'm just tired, So, people don't really see and I
Mhm.
think sometimes we don't admit it. We don't admit it either.
Mhm.
I've got it. So,
It's not it's not imaginary. We're pre-thinking. We're solving problems before they happen. We're keeping track of things that are urgent, and I think that, sometimes we just don't acknowledge what all we really are
mhm,
keeping. I think what you said was great, in your heart and mind, because I think for a female, it's hard to separate the mind and the heart for me. Because pretty much everything has Shannon and I have talked about this. I'm a feeler person. And so like everything for me is more of like a feeling. And so for me, I mean, it's absolutely what you said. Like a lot of times it's also what you're carrying in your heart. So I
mhm.
really love that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So when we think about this exhaustion, right? This special kind of exhaustion and not we all know a hard day, right? We all know a day that we can identify, yes, this is why I'm so tired and stuff. But it's looking at that cumulative fatigue, like how are things piling up? And this is why we have balance and bubbles. Where do we need to have the reset? Where do we need to give ourselves that space and that time? Because we're probably going to continue to be on mentally a lot. We're going to continue to be the scanner of the
Mhm.
temperature of our family, right? We're going to continue to do these things that we do, but we also have to find that place that we feel like we can clock out, with that we can close the loops and be able to clock out.
I think that is why for maybe a lot of us in this age bracket, which by the way, we hope Balance and Bubbles really does resonate with everybody.
Mhm,
Early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and on, right? Like we would love for everybody to resonate with this. But as far as what can happen at bedtime, it
mhm,
can be a total miss for me.
mhm.
Like I can be so exhausted and I know that I'm ready to go to bed. And then finally I stop moving, but my mind has not stopped processing. I mean, have you ever sat there in bed and just thought, just stop thinking and it won't stop?
Yeah.
I don't know why you
Yeah.
want to do it. So now you're just lying there trying to remember what if you paid for the thing, if you replied to the thing, if you forgot the thing, if you offended somebody. And then sometimes there's that, I wish I would have handled that differently. And here's the narrative that I would have done differently. But you can't go back to that because it's already happened. And then you need groceries and it's just endless, right? You have to prep
Mhm.
for tomorrow. You need magnesium, like we were talking about, or that lavender. And then really what you really need is just a week in a hotel
A spa.
all alone.
Spa.
Oh,
Yeah, it's all there. And then we're so quick to make it personal, right? We're so quick to like think, why can't I just handle life better? Why do I feel so overwhelmed? Why do I feel so tired? We tend to make it more of a judgment thought about how we're performing rather than making it compassionate, making it what am I carrying that hasn't been fully acknowledged? Or what am I carrying that maybe I don't need to carry?
absolutely.
That's a hard one.
And there's something else that I really want to share And I know that, Shannon, we haven't talked a ton about this, but comparing yourself to other women who maybe you see doing it, in your
Yes.
opinion, better.
Yes.
Or I think that is a really, really hard thing for women is to you'll look at other women and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, how did they get that birthday party so perfect? And they're a full-time job, and they're doing this, and they're doing this." And I really hope that women out there will just kind of celebrate, be where you are and just water your own grass,
Mhm.
and your own grass will turn green, that not to
Yes.
worry about what other people, because you know what? Other people might have more support. Other people might have more that they can do because they have support. And some of us are just maybe you don't have the same supports.
Right.
And I think you need to really be honest with yourself that it's okay to be where you're at. It's okay you don't have to have the perfect birthday party for your child.
Mhm.
You don't have to have the perfect 80-year-old party for your mom. My kids just gave me a 55-year birthday
It
party.
was so cute.
It was adorable. They did a reverse surprise party. So all my family came and then my high school friends slowly showed up. And it was adorable. It wasn't a surprise party for 50 people. It was like 5 of my closest human beings in my life that I
Yeah.
grew up with. And it was thoughtful. And it meant more to me, the thoughtfulness of it, than the production.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just
Absolutely.
try not to compare. And I think that's just really important that we're not failing at life. You can be overloaded, and that there is a big difference between those 2 things.
I just bringing that up, Amy, I'm thinking like social media. Right? So
Mm.
when you look at things that people post on their
Mhm.
Instagram or their, whatever they're on Facebook or whatever, people don't tend to post the really rough
Yeah,
spots.
those are their best moments.
Those are the best moments, right? Those are the ones,
Those are best
those are
right,
the best
yeah.
moments that the balloon arch is
Yes.
beautiful and the
Mhm.
cake is sitting there and you don't see behind the scenes of where they were running around like that, like the duck you were talking about,
Right,
right? They're paddling
right,
like crazy
right,
underneath.
right.
Yeah. And I think that in and of itself, when people see things and they go, well, why isn't that me? Why don't I look like that? Most people don't look like that,
But you
right?
didn't see them
You
before they
did
were getting to party your night.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You saw them
You didn't
after
see the
the
crash out.
after the pictures.
Right.
You see it after the So let's talk about what's really happening underneath, right? So let's talk about one of the most important things to understand is that decision fatigue is real, right? Our
Oh,
brain
for
only has
sure.
so much capacity. So I know that you just told me, you've had a couple nights that you've had a hard time getting some quality sleep. And as women, we sometimes tend to go, okay, I didn't sleep, but by golly, I'm up and I'm doing it again. Right. I'm doing it again. Well, we don't recognize that the brain has not had the ability or the body, but the brain has not had the ability to reset and recover. So we wake up maybe that first night of not having good sleep and we're
Mhm.
functioning at 80% capacity. And then the next night we don't have good sleep. Now we're down to 60% capacity, right? And it just accumulates, and so we don't really recognize, and then we call on our brain to do things, you
Right,
know, make
right.
these decisions. And sometimes they're big decisions.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not just what I'm going to wear today, but they're very important, maybe health related
Mhm.
or something like that. So it's really important to realize that that is real and it is neurological. It is not a character flaw, right? Our brain, particularly this thinking executive part that called the prefrontal cortex, has to be involved in decision making, regulation, attention, executive function, and it gets fatigued.
I love that you can always talk about the science of that part.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm a brain nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
if we were sitting at my house, you'd see I have a brain sitting on my desk.
And I just think it's important that because it really does explain that you are completely capable, but
Mm.
then you can also become completely depleted and exhausted by 4 p.m. You've just been making thousands of decisions all day long, and many of them are unseen, and that your brain is done. Your brain, it's left the building.
Yeah, it's gone. Bye-bye. And exactly. So we have to realize that every micro decision counts, right? What are we going to eat? What are we going to say? What do we need to prioritize? Does something need our immediate attention like Amy just shared so eloquently a little while ago? Do I need to do this right now? Is it going to cause me more
Stress.
stress if I don't? Or is it going to cost me more stress if I do? So that's all decisions on whether do we push, do we wait, do we help, do we step in, do we intervene? All of these constant decisions that we're making all the time, they seem small, but they all accumulate.
And then add the work layer or whatever layer you may be struggling with, right? Should I answer this now, later? And this happens to me a lot. Like sometimes I'll spend so much time on how to word something
Hmm.
that takes because I'm a very say what I mean and mean what I say. And I know you can't be like that. I've been told that sometimes I just, I can kill an ant with a sledgehammer. I don't mean to be like that. I'm just like, I got to get this done and get to the next thing. So you just also want to know, do I speak up here? Do I let it go? Like, I mean, it's just a lot of things that we think about,
Yeah. Yeah.
or your brain has been alive for the whole day. And then by the end of the day, you're just thinking, have I really dropped something that's really important
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
spent too much time on something that's not
Not
important?
important. 100%.
Right.
Well, you and I,
Right.
you and I are very similar in that way because I am also task oriented. When I have something to do, I'm very task oriented. And so relationship isn't my first thought. So quite often I'll write an email, I'll write a text, and then I go, oh, I probably should go back and put a little relationship. Hey, how's your day?
Or even good
Yeah.
morning.
Yes. Good. Yes.
Hey, I meant to say good morning first.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
So, for women who are working, especially women who are in leadership positions, caregiving, service roles, you're dealing with clients all the time for those high responsibility environments. Law enforcement is one of them, education, right? All of these things that require us to perform for the safety and leadership of others. So we're using that executive function piece of our brain all day long. We're using it all day long for that, prioritizing, problem solving, all of that. And then we expect our brain to seamlessly transition into the home management role at the end of the day.
Just don't know. This is a question for Shannon. And I always ask her questions and she's like, she doesn't even know when to ask.
Just throw it at me.
Right. She's like, I don't know. So like, I can't imagine being a law enforcement person. Doesn't matter what you do. And being able to kind of separate, like being in the moment of dealing with something in law enforcement to shut off everything else. Like your kid, I mean, I just can't imagine that. So what was that like for you how did you do it?
I love it when you throw these things at
I
me.
know, right? But like I think about how I just am amazed by you because I know you have to be a special kind of person to be in law enforcement.
Mhm.
Like that is no joke these days. And so I just think it's very admirable anybody that has been in law enforcement and y'all don't know this, but she's big time. She also trains. So like, I mean, I don't know. How did you do that?
Yeah. So I think it's very much, this is probably for all law enforcement officers, it's very much like what we are talking about as women. You just do what you need to do, right? You do what you need to do in the moment to take care of what needs to be taken care of. And this is my big mantra for law enforcement when I teach and stuff is that we have to have the reset in law enforcement too. Everybody has to have a reset.
Sure.
But you have to not, they use a analogy of the backpack. And I say everybody has a backpack. We all carry stuff that we've picked up our entire life. But law enforcement, first responders, they use this analogy that they put this brick of whatever that was in the backpack. And I'm a huge proponent that we have to empty the backpack.
Okay.
We have to take those bricks out, right? And that might not be fun sometimes. That might require some work. It might require some emotion. It might require something that is hard for us to process, but we have to do it. You have to do it because otherwise it just becomes long-term it just accumulates. So in the early years, it's all fun, right? In the early years when you're out, this is what you join the force for, and it's all fun. And then things change as you have more time on the job and stuff like that. And so I think I was very fortunate in I started getting into the brain work, the impact of trauma, the impact of those experiences and stuff, probably about midway in my career. And so I really started to implement the tools that I was learning at that time.
And don't forget, if y'all have questions,
Yes.
you can put questions into the balanceandbubblespodcast.com and we will answer questions. And sometimes we're going to try to do these live so that they could, while we're talking, if you want to ask us live questions, and clearly you can see how interesting Shannon is. You're
interesting.
The only thing you'll see is my children just coming through. So, but anyways,
Yeah.
yes, we would love for y'all to really just join us in this conversation and interact. And if there's things that you want us to talk more about or less about, again, we're not perfect. We're just trying to be part of the community of women trying to live life with a little bit of balance and bubbles.
Yes,
Mhm, mhm,
absolutely.
mhm.
So let's go and so we've talked about like where we are and stuff like that. Let's go to what can we do, right? What can we do so that we can kind of lighten the load that we're not carrying everything all the time? So instead of trying to, because one of my things, because I focus on the resilience piece, and one of my things is yes, we have these concerns, right? We have traumatic events that happen to us. We have disappointments and
Mhm,
things like that.
mhm.
And what's next? What are we going to do about that? Because we can either choose to just let that build, 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 build and hurt us more, or we can choose to start to do things and take actions and stuff that can help us to be more resilient and more stronger and more capable of handling the next thing that comes along. So let's look at some pieces that we can do. And I think, Amy, the big part that is here that I want everybody to hear and I want you to go ahead and talk about is that compassion piece.
Absolutely. I think that compassion matters so much, especially for women. And a lot of times, again, we have a lot of guilt. And so I think you do have to have a lot of compassion for yourself. A lot of times you might feel great at everything I've done wrong. And that's not really the point. We really would just like to help each other, not shame ourselves for not being perfect. And the point is just to notice that when, you have been adapting this whole time while you're becoming exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're professional adapters for
Yeah,
sure.
we are for sure. And so last week we talked about that we're just asking for awareness right now. Just
Mhm,
awareness. We
mhm.
ask for awareness in the body. What is my body trying to tell me? What is it trying to give to me? And we want to notice now with awareness for our brain because this is often the first turning point, our mind. I put those two together a lot. So we're not going to fix it. We're not looking at perfecting it. This is not about suddenly becoming the woman that has a, an empty brain, right? This color coded planner, no emotions. That's not realistic for us. This is just awareness that says, I see what is happening. I recognize how much I'm carrying. And I see that my mind has been working very hard. And I will say, take a minute and thank your brain, thank your mind for how amazing it is and what it does.
And I know that it can really feel emotional because a lot of women have been minimizing their mental load for so long. And again, we just want to make sure that everyone knows that we really are going to not be the podcast that's telling you how to fix it. I mean, we might throw in a few like suggestions or ideas, but I just know throughout my entire life as a female, it's like you can talk about all these things, what you're going through, what you're handling, and they'll be, well, you need to set boundaries. Well, you need to take time for yourself. Literally, like, if you think about how many people have said to you,
Yes.
"You need to do this." And I sometimes I've gotten to the point in life now where I'm like, "Yeah, I know I need to do that. I can't do that." Like, I think that's the one thing that as a female, I have kind of like, I know I need to take a day of mental health for myself. I can't do that. And I mean, I will try. I maybe could take it. I mean, so I've had to kind of shift my brain to you said it best the last episode. What do you need right this minute
Mm,
so that you can keep going?
yes.
And it might not, you maybe can't get a 7-day vacation, but maybe you can maybe I can't allow myself a 2-hour nap. I mean, so I think that's as females for me. Again, I just like talking to Shannon. This podcast really has so much fun because we're just like, but I think that's really important to know is just to just realize that you are doing an amazing job and that it's not always fixable.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't fix it.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. Sometimes
Being aware
being aware.
being
Yeah.
aware, and then, yes, finding those little micro decisions we talked about that you can work towards, improving it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't always change the situation, but you can
Definitely,
change how you want to engage or interact or, think about that situation.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think sometimes there can be a sadness in recognizing how much has gone unspoken, right? Because we do tend to blame ourselves, we'll shame ourselves or we'll have that guilt feeling or whatever. And we don't acknowledge how much effort has gone unacknowledged, even by ourselves. We don't acknowledge what we do and what we
No.
carry, and that can be kind of sad. But the awareness can also become the doorway to change.
Absolutely. So, what actually we're hoping starts to shift is when a woman realizes, I'm overloaded. Or I think for me, the first thing that changes is the story. You stop making your exhaustion mean something about your worth or your capability. Like, I'm exhausted, but it doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong. It could simply mean that, I'm tired. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've done a lot.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So the internal narrative, right? When we become aware and we are like, heck yeah, I do a lot. I am tired today. The internal narrative begins to soften instead of saying, well, why can't I keep up? Why can't I just keep pushing harder? We can start to ask, what is this pace and pressure costing me? And is it worth it? Instead of asking, why am I so emotional? We can ask, what level of depletion am I at that's causing me to feel this way? So we can start to be aware of in acknowledging of why, not putting that negative perspective on it.
It's not like
Absolutely.
blaming yourself. It's
Yeah.
it's looking at everything in a more comprehensive lens of, yes, I'm tired because I'm doing this and this. So yeah, instead of blaming yourself like that. And sometimes this is where the resistance shows
Mhm.
up, because once you see the load, you start realizing that maybe you do need to change something, or this is what I'm so bad at this, delegating.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at delegating. So, and then, sometimes you might have to say no, which I'm horrible at that as well. And then obviously stop carrying something that maybe nobody has asked you to carry in the first place. And I know that as moms, I mean, do we not do that? I mean,
Yes.
like with your kids and your grandkids, like I worry about my grandkids, and I'll even like, it's crazy, right? Like
Right.
the amount that you will take on that's not truly, it's your burden because you love them, but it's not necessarily your burden to, you can't make the decision.
Right.
Your kids aren't going to do what you tell them to do.
Right.
Your
I
grown adult children are not going to do what you tell them to do. So the
I
time and energy wasting on worrying about it.
I always say, so when your babies are little, you think that's a hard time, right?
Mhm,
Because you
mhm.
have to, you're keeping them safe in this world. And then your babies become these little independent teenagers and stuff. And it's a whole different level of concern. But I'm telling you, when they are out of your, I'm going to say control, right? When they are out of it and you're watching them make decisions, and our kids are wonderful, right? We're not bashing them, but they make decisions. Sometimes you're like, I'm not sure that's the decision that I'd make, but you don't have that, right? You can't. And now I'm worrying about my two teenage grandsons who are driving,
Oh, I can't even imagine.
and
I can't
so,
even imagine.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
end,
yeah.
right? That doesn't ever end.
But you know what is interesting is adult children. I'm not sure that anybody set this up for me in life. They are going to tell me what they think about my decisions.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna like, they're gonna tell me
Mom,
in a heartbeat what they think I'm doing. It cracks me up.
I always get, mom, listen to me. It's like, okay, I made it this long in life. Oh, I'll tell a funny story real
Yeah,
quick. Okay.
yeah, do it.
So I was on patrol and I remember this day like it was just, everything. So I'm on patrol and my son was a Marine and he went into the Marine Corps 1 month before 9/11 happened. So he actually a year later deployed when the Marines deployed and
Mhm.
like I'm watching my 19-year-old,
That's pretty scary.
go across. Yeah, it was very
Terrifying.
scary. So he
Terrifying.
comes back safe and
Mhm,
everything
mhm.
and he calls me. I'm in the patrol car and he calls me and he says, Mom, I've been thinking. And I'm like, okay, lay it on me. What are you
Yeah,
thinking? He
yeah.
goes, I think it's time for you to come off the road.
Okay.
And I said, that's interesting.
Okay.
Okay. That's interesting. Tell me more.
Mhm,
And he
mhm.
goes, well, it's a dangerous world out there, Mom. And, let's be honest, you're not getting any younger.
Okay.
And I said, okay. I
Mhm,
said, well, I appreciate your concern and
mhm,
stuff. And I
mhm.
said, I've got 18 years of experience behind me and
Yeah.
I'm not quite 1 foot in the grave yet at the,
Right, right.
you know, but it's just really funny how
It
they,
magically,
they just get to the stage of thinking that now they're going to tell you
and
what
then,
to do.
like, the job has been not safe probably his whole life, but he
Exactly.
comes back and all of
Exactly.
a sudden it's not safe. You're like,
Exactly.
"Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Been doing it for a long time."
I know
But
kids
you
are,
gotta love them.
you do.
I mean,
I do so much. Yeah. So when we think about what Amy just said, like recognizing where we putting that energy in, especially for women who have built an identity around being dependable, helpful, emotionally aware, and highly capable. Stepping back can feel like we're being irresponsible or we're not carrying our weight, right? Or maybe we're being selfish because we said no for something that's going to take care of us, where something we feel like we should be doing, like should be doing.
Mhm.
But if a woman never questions what she's carrying, then, she may just continue to live in that quiet depletion and think that it's normal to be there.
Quiet depletion is such a real phase, right? Because it doesn't look very dramatic. It kind of
Mhm.
happens over time. And then again, feeling like everyone needs something from you and you have nothing left, but still showing up because that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who we are.
It is who we are.
Mhm.
And the turning point is often not one giant boundary or one major overhaul, right? I tend to be that person like, oh, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to do
Yeah. Yeah.
20,000 different things to
Yeah.
fix it,
Yeah.
right? It may just simply begin with honesty. I am carrying too much. This is affecting me. This is costing me here. So that kind of honesty truly isn't weakness, it's wisdom.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wisdom. And you know what we haven't talked a lot about, Shannon, is working women, especially. I mean, we both worked, we raised children, it's a lot. And I mean, when I took my grandkids the other day, I actually looked at my daughter. No, my daughter said to me, she goes, "How did you do it?" And I said, "Actually, I don't know.
Hmm.
We just did it, right?" Like at work, you feel like home is pulling you. At home, you feel like work is taking so much out of you that if you're, arriving with less patience, less energy, it can just feel like you're never fully anywhere. And
Yeah.
so I just want to give a huge shout out to those working moms because you are killing it. You're doing such
Yes.
an amazing job. And, you need in today's day and time, it really is hard to make it in a one income home.
Absolutely.
And I don't care what work you do. I mean,
Mhm.
it is really hard to make it with just one income. So I just want to give a shout out to those working moms. And we hope that you will find a way to listen to us during some 10 or 15 minutes or 60 minutes of time that you have outside of the workday to get a reset in with us.
Yeah. I would imagine that most women are that listening to the podcast might maybe later they'll be in the bubble bath. I think right now they're going to be unloading the dishwasher
Absolutely.
or
Carrying in
something.
groceries.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I do that. I
But we
do that.
hope
Yeah.
eventually you're going to be in the bubble bath
Yeah.
with a cute little drink.
Yeah. I echo that, Amy. I think that's so important of what you just said and just really recognizing. And and I want to say too, if you are a one income family, then that spouse that's home, and we're talking to women right now, is doing double duty too with budgeting and,
Mhm.
doing all of that kind of stuff to help make ends meet on that in that side of the house.
Or just single.
Yes. Yeah, we can both talk to that, right?
Yeah. For another episode.
Yeah, well, for sure. So, let's talk about what are some of the things that we can do to take a look at that one thing that we're going to ask women to do.
Mhm.
Does that feel like that's a good place for us to go right
I
now?
think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, just a reminder, the goal here in when we're looking at this is not blame. It's not self blame. It's not actually even blaming anybody else for, the things that we choose to do. The goal is awareness and agency. And we really think that, having these honest conversations can start to happen in relationships and families, when we start to let others know in our circle on how much that we're carrying and
Mhm.
how we would like a little bit of help there. If we have it, we recognize sometimes too. And that honesty can go over into the workplace, right? We don't have to turn everything into an accusation. We can speak from our heart and just really say, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I need. And sometimes that's even a little bit hard to do.
It can. And I also think you can just start asking yourself better questions.
Yes.
I mean, just what am I managing that could be shared? What am I anticipating that's actually mine? I mean,
Hmm.
I think I do that a lot. What am I carrying at work that needs a boundary? What am I still holding because I'm scared of what happens if I stop? I mean, just asking yourself those questions can really maybe help steer you in a better direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of gives you a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, right? They're powerful questions because
Mhm.
change often begins in that internal space. Before we can bring it out into the world, we have to understand what we're thinking about, what we're needing, what we're wanting, that kind of thing. So that first small step of awareness and then permission, right? Perhaps it's one small shift, not 20, just one small shift. So let's slow this down and let's make it practical in a gentle way, not another assignment. Amy and I don't give assignments, right? We want to give tools, but we want to offer a simple, practical tool today that we're going to
I
call
love it.
Close the Tab.
I love it.
Okay.
This is awesome. Yeah, I love this because it's very realistic and nobody wants to listen to us to say, now go do this, do that, do this, do that, or do more of this or less of that. We just want you to talk about and think about, is there one tab that you could close?
Yeah.
Just one out of the 50. Is there one that you could close? Or is there one that even you could move to the end that is carrying a lot of stress for you that isn't your stress to carry? So yeah, think about, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So here's the practice. Take a piece of paper or open notes on your app, however you like to, do things. Write down what is currently on your mental desktop. Not what should be there. What is there now? What are all the open tabs that you have going? Every open loop that you can think of. Is it appointments, conversations, reminders, worries, errands, decisions, unfinished tasks, work follow-ups, emotion, right? Whatever it might be, all of it. Just write it down.
And please do not edit it while you do it.
Mm.
Just get it out of your head because sometimes the first relief is just seeing it. And I actually have this, I have a list of running things that I have to kind of get done. And my favorite thing is to take them off. It doesn't mean that it's not replaced by three more things. But then there's times that I will go through that list and go, Amy, you really could delete that. That really isn't yours to handle. And so I think this is a cool practice.
Or delegate it.
Yeah, or
Right?
delegate.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
absolutely. Yep, I agree. So then after you've got your list made, unedited, everything, just call it a brain dump, right? Look at that list and circle one item and choose how you're going to handle it.
Yeah.
I'm going to delegate it. I'm going to delay it. I'm going to delete it, not solve perfectly, right? So just get it out of your head in some way. And when you do that, you're going to be amazed at the space that you've created, right? You've given that thinking brain of yours a little bit of organization and a little bit of open space.
And just so you know, Shannon and I are doing the same thing.
Mhm.
That's why I started this podcast because we need balance and bubbles just as anybody. And this is truly why we started it.
It is.
I mean, it really is like
is.
so cool because I'm sitting here thinking, what tab am I going to close? To think about it. Yep, yep, yep. So sometimes the tab is open because you think you should care about something more than you actually do, or because you're capable of managing it, or maybe you think you can do it better than somebody else. So I think sometimes it's really important just to know, does it even need your energy?
Mhm.
And again, I'm kind of like a fixer sometimes. And so I have had to learn to be like, it's just that is really not my problem to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite things. It's not my circus.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
want to get in there
Oh, yeah.
and swing on the trapeze
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
monkeys, but it's like
Yeah.
not my
Yeah.
circus. Absolutely. So think about as you do this, notice what comes up. Last week we asked you to consider where's my body trying to get my attention, right? Noticing all the sensations or things that you're feeling in your body. So this time we want you to notice what comes up. Is it relief? Is it resistance? Sometimes we resist like getting our little sticky fingers out of the middle of something. Is it guilt? Is it fear? All of that is information for you, not judgment. It's information because sometimes the hardest part of letting something go or setting it down is not the logistics of it. It's what's behind it. What's the emotion? What's the story that's attached to it?
So, like if I don't handle this or I'm dropping the ball or if I ask for help or if I'm burdening someone, if I don't stay ahead, something bad will happen. Or if I don't answer this tonight, I'm not being responsible. Because then you start seeing that not every tab does have the same task at hand with it, but some are just about the meaning you've assigned to the task. And I think that's important to understand too.
I think that's super important to understand. And I think when you said, if I don't handle it, it's not going to get done. I think we have to put a little caveat to that and say, Will it get done or will it not get done to my expectations? That's two different things, right?
One.
Yeah. So sometimes we have to let go of our own expectations and let some other people do things the way they need to do them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be there. So the invitation this week is very simple. Make that list, circle one tab, and practice closing it. And just let that be enough. Let that relief come.
We're not perfect.
No.
We never claim to be perfect. This does really feel though like one of those episodes where you can just exhale a little bit because so much isn't as dramatic sometimes as we always think it is. And although life can be heavy, there are some things that you can also. I heard this on, it was a meme or something, and it was talking about feathers. Is it a brick or a feather? And that's helped me a lot. Is if it's a brick, you got to handle it. But if it's a feather, you can let it go, and you can kind of just think through that. So that might help you with your what tabs need to stay open or need to be closed. Is
Yeah.
that maybe it's just a feather that you just need to kind of let go, and and the brick is something that you handle. And so I've really appreciated kind of knowing and learning what truly is heavy enough that I do need to keep, and then what's light enough to let go. Not an expert at all. It's daily grind, still figuring it out. But at any rate,
Absolutely. So I want to leave you with the thought of what if you reframe to not what if I'm bad at life, but what if I'm just caring too much of it, right? What if I am just overloaded? And that's a really important distinction. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak. You may be overwhelmed because you're overloaded.
and overload definitely does not mean broken.
100%.
I think a lot of women think they're broken and they're really not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a very different conversation than a self-judgment.
Yeah.
Like you're not, ladies, we're not broken
No.
at all.
No, absolutely not. So, as we move through the coming back to our center series, this is really what we're going to be doing together. We're going to be noticing where have we drifted from ourselves? Where have we become overextended, disconnected, or depleted? And then gently making our way back, not through pressure, but through awareness, and not through perfection, but through truth.
And if you saw yourself in this conversation today, just let that be enough for now. You don't need to fix your whole mind tonight. You don't need to create a new life system by tomorrow morning. Maybe the next step is just simply saying, this is real, this counts, I deserve support too. And hopefully you're enjoying hanging out with Shannon and Amy.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful, Amy. I hope that we have this conversation gave some language to something that you may have been feeling for a long time, whether your load is mostly at home, mostly at work, or more likely both for many of us. Thank you for being here with us and for letting us have these honest conversations right alongside of you.
Yes. And as listeners, please, we will give you next week's mocktail and this week's recipe. If you can please join us at www.balanceandbubblespodcast.com. Don't worry, we will put this, it's in the beginning of the podcast and the end so that you know. And then also we are going to have some social media posts out there. So hopefully you're going to find us. But we will be back next time to continue this journey. But for today, we're going to finish as we always say.
Come as you are, reset often. Have a great week.